So whatever we are discussing in these classes should be applied to our japa and should be understood. The whole mentality that we're discussing should be understood as applicable to the mood of japa. And we've been talking a lot about the mood of prayer and the goal of prayer, the intentions of our prayers. And I think one thing we need, we discussed a little bit, but I wanted to begin before we read with an idea. We discussed the question of why do I need to pray if Krishna already knows? And that's a common question. Yes? And so then we discussed how prayer is one of the 9 processes and that we should verbalize what's in our heart and that it strengthens, it communicates to Krishna. We're directly telling Krishna, this is what I want. There's so many things in our heart we don't want, right? So if Krishna needs to know what we want, we have to clarify it. Because I want to be humble and I also like to be appreciated. So do I just let Krishna go from there? Or do I tell Krishna, I know I want to be appreciated, I want to be honored, but I know that's not good, so please help me become humble. So we're clarifying. Because there's a mixture in our lives where we're like really emblems of duality. Because if we look at our life, we'll see there's so many things that we want from the conditioned perspective that we know from the point of Shastra, the point of our intelligence, the point of the guidance we get from Guru, that these are things I shouldn't want. And so I'm trying to develop the desire to want what I should want and not want what my conditioned self is telling me to want, or at least not want those things which my conditioned self is telling me to want that are not good for me. Maybe my conditioned self is telling me to want things that are good for me. That's different. So those things which are not good for me, but they're desires. So then we could ask the question, how does Krishna know I don't want those things? You have to tell him. And if you don't tell him, he might say, well, he knows I don't want them. Well, you have to express that to him. And there's many things we don't want that we pursue, even in our life. And sometimes, as we read, I think in the last class, or we discussed, sometimes the devotee will pray to Krishna that I don't pursue what I want, because I know what I want is not good for me. So don't let me pursue it. That's it. So there's this, I think we talked on Friday, if you were there, this paradox in which a devotee is praying against his own conditioning. Krishna, I want this, but it's not good for me, so don't let me do it. Have you ever prayed like that? Krishna, don't let me do this. That's good. So if I don't pray that way and I say, well, why I don't have to pray because Krishna knows what's in my heart, then he knows all the bad stuff also. And then how does he determine what you want? And of course, he knows, but it's better you tell him, right? So that's one side of the equation. But there's another side of the equation, perhaps more beneficial and simultaneously potentially more dangerous, is that if the intensity of the desire which is not expressed is deep and consistent, then it sends a message to Krishna, this is what I want. So even though you say, I don't want it, but you're showing Krishna by your desire and persistency and continual meditation on something that is not good for you, that you really like this and you really want it, then that will tend to manifest in your life. It's because yeyatamam prapadyate, Krishna is reciprocating. And so when Krishna says, I reciprocate, he's reciprocating with intention, especially when it's consistent, persistent, focused. Have you ever seen that? Like something shows up in your life and you wonder, well, Krishna, maybe you don't like me, or maybe you do like me, I can't tell because this is what I want, but it's not good for me and you're letting me have it. So it's kind of like, oh, I shouldn't have prayed for that because Krishna is now manifesting it. So sometimes if we're very intentional about being in Maya, Krishna would relinquish his effort to pull us away from Maya. So in that sense, that's the sense that we say, that we can say that what is going on internally, which is intense and consistent, is also a prayer. And that means you're also indicating to Krishna by that this is what you want. So it's kind of a contradiction, but it's at the same time, because if it reaches a certain level of intensity and consistency, then we could say you are praying for that, even though you never verbalized it. And what we see in life is that things tend to manifest according to our meditation on those things, our intention, our desire. And so that's important to understand. And as we said on Friday, if there's something that internally I want, but I know intelligently it's not good, but I'm attached to it, and I want to relinquish it, then I have to verbalize it. Krishna, I don't want this. What I want is the opposite, and verbalize that. So we talked about that on Friday. So sometimes we have to do that. We have to verbalize what we don't want because it's something we do want. That's not good for us. And so we have to say, Krishna, I don't want it. Even though the mind is saying, I do want it, the intelligence is saying, I don't want it, and therefore we verbalize, this is what I don't want. And so it keeps our intelligence clear, because the intelligence can dominate the mind. The mind could dominate intelligence also. As we've seen, senses can dominate the mind, mind can dominate intelligence, although intelligence is in a higher position, but sometimes the intelligence is a cohort, is a conspirator with the mind. It, instead of directing the mind, it then empowers the mind to do the wrong thing. So we generally see, or we often see, that in the prayers of devotees, and we can take their prayers as examples for us, they're praying not to do what their conditioned self is kind of pushing them to do. So they're fighting it. And so as they're fighting it and praying, then that is telling Krishna, I don't want to do what my conditioned self is telling me to do. So you're sending that signal to Krishna. So I think the important thing is of this whole discussion on prayer, the question to ask ourselves, and maybe this could be a title for a class, what signal are you sending to Krishna? You know, sometimes we send signals to people and then people do things and we say, why did you do that? I don't want that. That doesn't make me happy. And then they'll say to you, but that's what you showed me you wanted. And you might say, well, I didn't really mean it. Well, how was I to know that? You didn't say that. You know, like sometimes you get in a fight with your spouse and you'll just like leave the house for a few hours. And the spouse is upset and saying, well, you know, that's the message I got from you. You know, you're like criticizing me all the time. So I just figured, you know, you'll be happier without me. So I left. And you'll say, no, well, that's not what I meant. We'll say, well, if you didn't mean that, you certainly didn't communicate it. You communicated the opposite. That ever happened to you? That ever not happened to you? So then the question is, are we doing that with Krishna? And so it's good to be conscious, because some things come up in our life that we don't want, and we don't understand why, or we might even blame Krishna for it. Krishna, why did you do that? He said, and Krishna will say, well, that's what you showed me you wanted. So look at your life now. Look at what is happening in your life and ask the question, is this what I showed Krishna I wanted? Maybe, yeah, I showed Krishna I want to be in control. That didn't work. And I got a pie thrown in my face or mud thrown in my face or something. So Krishna, why did you do this to me? Well, maybe because you wanted to be God in your kingdom, and that's not going to, people didn't respect it or want it, but that's what you wanted. So, it doesn't work that way, and material nature responds in a specific way according to what you want. And it's not always going to be exactly what you want, but it's going to be in that direction. Oh, Krishna, I want a beautiful this or beautiful that. And so you get it, and that beautiful this or that causes you distress. And then you say, Krishna, why did you give that to me if you knew it would cause me distress? What will Krishna say? He'll say, because that's what you showed me you wanted. And you'll say, but you knew it would cause me distress. And Krishna will say, yeah, but I told you in the Gita it would cause you distress, but you said you wanted it. And so that's what you showed me, and so I'm reciprocating. And if you show me, and this is the other point, if you show me that what you want is really what you don't want, what your conditioned self wants is not what you want, and you know that, and you show that by praying to me, please protect me from giving in to those weaknesses, then Krishna is more likely to protect you in some way. Does that make sense to you? So it's really like, what what are we showing Krishna? Have you ever had this experience where you have a fear and you're always thinking, I hope this doesn't happen? And of course it happens because you're meditating on it constantly. You ever had that experience? It's interesting experience because we need to learn from that. We need to learn the opposite from that. Why is this always happening to me? Well, you're always expecting it and you're always meditating on it. And so it's like you're creating that reality. It's like, how could it not happen? That's your whole life is like now. Your whole consciousness is centered around this happening. It works in a positive way also. You'll find in the testimonials of many successful people that they'll say that they were meditating on their goals constantly. They're focused on their goals. They were thinking about them, even seeing how it was going to manifest, almost experiencing it in the present, something in the future. And it was like it couldn't not happen because they were seeing it so clearly. Like Prabhupada said, he saw the whole movement before it started. He saw all the temples, all the books, all the devotees, and there weren't any yet. There was one temple. And there's an interesting story. Disneyland, they have Disneyland, which is in California, which existed when I was a kid. Um, and then later they developed Disney World in Orlando. It's actually different, bigger, better. And as we say in English, better. Better means better. Disney World is better than Disneyland. That means it's better. In case you come to America, then you know. Or you can say it's wicked. Disney World is more wicked than Disneyland. That means it's better also, not worse. And so it's a very interesting story about Disney World. And as you may know, Disney World is in a place in Florida called Orlando, about 2 hours from where we live. And Florida is a vast piece of land, but not vastly populated. So Walt Disney went to Florida and he found, I don't know how many acres Disneyland is, hundreds, thousands. He found land there in the middle of nowhere, literally. Because outside of Orlando, outside of many cities in the northern part of Florida. There's just like nothing, forest and swamps. So he found this piece of land in the middle of nowhere outside of Orlando. And that's where he decided to do Disney World. He died before Disney World was finished, so he never saw it. And his wife went to the inauguration. And the CEO said, this is really important for us to understand, even though it's a mundane story, but it shows the truth of this. The CEO said to Walt Disney's wife, it's too bad Walt Disney couldn't be here to see this. And his wife said something really significant. She said, oh no, he saw all of it. In other words, he saw it all in his mind. Obviously, every idea first begins in your mind. So her point was that he saw this very clearly. And as you know, anyone who is ambitious about something, passionate about something, emotional about something, can see it, feel it, taste it, touch it long before it happens. And just they're so inspired to make it happen. I can see it now. We're going to do this, and this is going to happen. Then people are going to come, and then we'll open the restaurant. Then we'll do this. You know what I mean? It's like that. And so, and so, in a sense, you could say, unless you're in the mode of ignorance, we're doing that all the time. We're kind of visualizing our future, but not always visualizing it in a good way. Could be visualizing in a fearful way. Oh, what if this happens? I'm afraid this will happen. Or, nothing ever good happens for me. And everything I try always fails. And it's like we're kind of sending a message to Krishna that we expect that it's going to fail. And so it's kind of what happens. And we're wondering, why? Why does this keep happening? Well, maybe there's some karmic thing there. That karmic thing you can't really control. All you can do is make your best efforts. So if you make a best effort with some positivity and some vision of what you want to do, that you're more likely to succeed. I can't guarantee you'll succeed at everything. But I think what's significant, and some of us may say, well, I don't really know if that's true, but I think we all have experience of the opposite, the fears, the negativity, and how the negativity continues, because it's more common. For the average person, negativity is quite common. This never happens to me. I'll never be successful at this. Nobody loves me, never won anything. That mood. I'm afraid this will happen. This doesn't look like it's going to work out. And so what you're actually doing, or what we're actually doing when we're doing that, we're kind of like, we're telling ourselves, don't think positive about any of this. Only think negative about it, because that's how it's always been. And therefore, that's how it's always will be. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because if something has been bad, you expect it to be bad in the future, right? And the problem is that if we expect it to continue in a negative way, then we don't put any positivity into it, and then it just continues, and we say, just see, my life's always negative because just look at the results. But that negative result is perpetuating a negative expectation of future negative results. And it's really sad when it comes up in expectations or statements like, I'll never be Krishna conscious, I'll never be pure, I'll never be a pure devotee, I'll never control my mind, I'll never control my senses. Have you ever said anything like that? Because if you have, go in the brain where that is and hit the delete button, because you're just creating that. Now, as I said, I understand, or we understand why, because, well, that's our experience. So with experience, you expect your experience to continue. I was never good at anything. Okay, so you have to make sure the rest of your life not to be good at anything, right? Because that's what you expect, and that would violate your expectation. So your mind is just going to work against it. It's going to make sure you won't be successful, because if you are, that will like disrupt your whole negative outlook. But if you turn it around and say, you have a positive outlook, then it would disrupt the negative. And so then that's where you find some people are more successful, more positive. They do impossible things and they don't even think it's impossible. And everyone's telling them, no, you can't do that. They have a joke in the field of aerodynamics or the field of science. They studied a bumblebee, and according to the laws of thermodynamics, the bumblebee can't fly. Of course, the bumblebee can fly, but according to their laws, he can't fly. And the joke is, it's a good thing nobody told the bumblebee. So if they told the bumblebee, he's going, hey, bumblebee, you can't fly. Oh, really? Then he goes down. There's a story, I don't know where the story comes from. Maybe it's a Buddhist story. I'm not sure. Maybe it's a similar story, I think Prabhupada tells, or in some of our Shastra. Two frogs fall in a, I guess it was a deep, yeah, they fell in a deep well. Yeah, it was so deep they couldn't get out. But they were trying, jumping, 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 and the frogs outside the well were looking down and saying, this well is dry. There's no water and you can't get out. So this is like your last couple of days. So, just don't try to get out. Just, die in peace, go into samadhi and, meditate on Krishna, whatever. Just, And one frog got the message, but one frog didn't. One frog kept trying, jumping, 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 jumping. And all the frogs outside are saying, yeah, stop jumping, just chill out. You're gonna die, just don't, you're gonna kill yourself jumping, just don't try. And all of a sudden he jumps up and some gust of wind comes from who knows where. It throws him out. And it's like amazing. And all the frogs said, why did you keep jumping when we told you not to jump? He said, oh, I'm hard of hearing. I thought you were saying jump, jump, jump. So, people ask, how did the Krishna conscious movement succeed? And I say, we were too young to figure out that we couldn't jump out of the well. So we just kept jumping, basically. And some wind of mercy, shot us out of the well. And like we opened all these temples and did all these crazy things. And we, could barely wear the shoes of the same color, and tie them, But we did all these things. And so we were too young to know. There's a saying, yeah, you're too young to know you can't do it. Something like that. And that's often why a lot of young people succeed where older people can't, because older people are wise because they have practical knowledge. So they know that you can't succeed when you do A, B, and C because they've seen it a million times. The younger person hasn't succeeded, and plus they don't want to listen to the negative adults anyway, so they just go out and do the impossible, which is really what happened in the early days of ISKCON. And Prabhupada was saying you could do it, and said, okay. If Prabhupada said we could do it, or at least try, okay. So, and because Prabhupada said we could do it, and we were trying, we expected Prabhupada's words to be true, and then they were, and it happened. So this is really, really important. So I would just like to emphasize that our thoughts, our expectations, our fears, our positivity, our negativity, they're all communicated. They're all being communicated. Even if you don't say it, and if you think it, it's being communicated, and you will tend to see the reciprocation, of Krishna through material nature. So we can say, be careful what you pray for, but we can also say, be careful what you're thinking. Be careful what you're believing, be careful what you're intending, because it's all just being put out there, and then it's like a wall that's, coming back. Whatever you're putting out, it's coming back to you. Yeah, that's a good example. You ever play tennis practice against a wall? You hit, or a handball, or, just throw a ball against the wall, it comes back. And the harder you throw the ball, the harder it comes back. Okay. So Chaitanya Dasi, you have where we left off?
Hare Krishna. I have the prayers document with the quotes.
Yes.
So we are on Srimad Bhagavatam 6.9.49 purport. I will post it in the chat.
Good. And the Lamb says, I have to go to work now. I feel sorry for you. You know, working is great because most people don't like it, which is a great impetus to get out of the material world, because in the spiritual world you don't have to work. You know, that alone was enough impetus for me to become a devotee. I said, if there's a way not to work, I'm doing it. Sign me up. And then there's a whole world. You don't have to work. Good news, Anna, right? You don't have to work. Go to the spiritual world. That's why all the hippies joined ISKCON. You don't have to work. Oh, we'll join. So this is 6.9.49. There are two classes of men, namely the Kripana and the Brahmana. A Brahmana is one who knows Brahman, the absolute truth, and who thus knows his real interest. A Kripana, however, is one who has a material bodily concept of life. Not knowing how to utilize his human or demigod life, a Kripana is attracted by things created by the material modes of nature. The Kripanas who always desire materialistic benefits are foolish, whereas Brahmanas who always desire spiritual benefits are intelligent. If a Kripana, not knowing his self-interest, foolishly asks for something material, one who awards it to him is also foolish. Krishna, however, is not a foolish person. He is supremely intelligent. If someone comes to Krishna asking for material benefits, Krishna does not award him the material things he desires. Instead, the Lord gives him intelligence so that he will forget material desires and become attached to the Lord's lotus feet. In such cases, although the Kripana offers prayers to Lord Krishna for material things, the Lord takes away whatever material possessions the Kripana has and gives him the sense to become a devotee. As stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, well, let's go back to that. So this appears to contradict some of the things I said, and it doesn't contradict it because obviously everyone in the world is not a devotee, and not everyone has become attached to Krishna's lotus feet, and everyone has material desires. So then the natural question would be, well, which ones does Krishna take it away so they come to him, and which, well, those are trying to be devotees. If there's anything in the way of their bhakti, Krishna will just go, let's move that out of the way. Even and especially if it's something that we're really attached to, Krishna, let's move that one out of the way. That's not good for you. So then an intelligent devotee sees that, oh, that was Krishna's mercy. I couldn't move it out of the way. He did it for me. Now, that has made my Krishna consciousness much easier and much better, and I'm happy, and I'm so happy that Krishna has taken that away. But at the same time, if a devotee is intent on being in Maya, then that's what's going to happen. We have the story, which I often quote because it's such an amazing story, of Mahaprabhu's servant. His name was called Krishnadas. And at one point in their travels, they were traveling together. Mahaprabhu had to, I forget the exact detail. They were separated for a day or two for some reason. Mahaprabhu had to go somewhere, do something. And Krishnadas was allured by some gypsies. And Mahaprabhu went and pulled him out. Right? But right. You have to be careful because maybe Mahaprabhu won't come and pull us out. Maybe we'll just keep staying with the gypsies or whatever our preferred form of Maya is. What is your most preferred form of Maya? You know that little exercise that I often give? I think we'll do it in Vrindavan. It's such a fun exercise. There's a day, it's called um, Papa Mukti. I'm making this up. Papa means sin, Mukti means liberated. So let's say there's a calendar day called Papa Mukti. And on Papa Mukti Day, you can do whatever you want and there's no sin. So, you can take any drug you want, you can do any illicit activity you want, go to Las Vegas, see a prostitute or see the most horrible movie in the universe, kill somebody, whatever it is. It's called Papa Mukti. There's no reaction. And the other factor of that day is that due to astrological influences on that day, whatever you do, no one will know. Even if they see you doing, they won't see it. So you can do anything you want. There's no sin for action, and no one will know. And so what would you do that day? It's a free day. You don't have to chant your rounds that day. It's like a day that's not a day. It's just like put in there. You can do whatever you want. What would you do? Think about it. No, you want to know the KC politically correct answer for that? Well, if it's a free day, that means, it's like an extra day, it doesn't count. So I don't have any service, anything. I would just hear and chant all day. Worship my deities for like 6 hours. And then, that's what I would do. That's the politically correct answer. But if something else came into your mind, like, oh no, I hope that day never comes because I know exactly what I would do. Well, okay. That's the thing. That's the thing to watch out for, isn't it? That one thing that you would do that day. Yeah, that's the problem. So that's your gypsy, that's your Kala Krishna Das's gypsy for you. What's your gypsy? What does your gypsy look like? Maybe Krishna will save you if you're sincere. But if you really want it, then he'll let you have it. That is statistically proven to be true. Both things are proven to be true. If one is sincere, either Krishna will protect them or one will give into the weakness and eventually come to one's senses. But we've also seen that if one doesn't want Krishna, then Krishna will say, okay, now I'm going to tell you something heavy. This is going to make you cry. But Prabhupada said it, so I'll say it. It's not my duty to make you cry. It's just my duty to make you say what he said. And Prabhupada says heavy things sometimes, doesn't he? And I've heard many stories where Prabhupada said heavy things that actually saved people, that people just could not hear, but later on, when they thought about it, they realized that was the thing that I needed to hear, or in some cases, that was the thing that really saved me. So you ready to hear this? Wow, this is really heavy. Get your tissues ready, or get your knives ready. You may want to kill yourself. They asked Prabhupada about devotees falling down, like leaving Krishna consciousness, like just giving it up. And Prabhupada said they were never devotees. Whoa, Hare Krishna. Prabhupada so-and-so left. He was never a devotee. Devotees don't leave. It's interesting. Of course, we may all feel like, oh, I'm not really a devotee. So if I leave, yeah, I know, I never was. That's humbly how we should feel. But and we know Prabhupada said, well, as long as they don't eat meat, they're still devotees. So there was that other side. So okay, let me say something about this because this is so important. And I'm going to talk about this in Vrindavan if you're fortunate enough to be there, but I'll give you a hint. Many times Prabhupada's statements are contextual. They're within a very limited sphere to make certain points, and they don't apply to everyone in every situation. But often when Prabhupada says something, we think, okay, well, that applies to everyone for eternity in every situation, which in some cases is true, but some cases is not, because in this case, we also have the quote where Prabhupada said, as long as you're not eating meat, you're a devotee. So I think Prabhupada is saying these things for us to ask ourselves. I guess, I never really, how could I leave if I ever did I accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and then I left? Or maybe I never did. Did I accept the principles of bhakti and then I gave them up? Maybe I never did. Some people give them up, but they don't give up Krishna consciousness in their heart. I'm just like, I'm too weak, I can't do it. So there's another story. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta had two disciples that left. And they left about 2 or 3 months after initiation. I'm trying to get through this glass before we end class. 2 cups every morning. 500 milliliters of water every morning. First thing. It's early for me. So they reported to Bhaktisiddhanta that these two disciples, these two, so-and-so and so-and-so left 3 months after initiation. He said, they were never initiated. Wow. This is such an important point because everyone's like, Guru Maharaj, when can I get initiated? Can I do it yesterday? I need to do it yesterday. That kind of thing. Okay, all right, whatever, get initiated. You're not really initiated if you're not initiated. It has to be internal, right? Yes? Yeah. Though your initiated disciples have left, they were never my disciples because they never accepted it, right? So, if that deep, I think, okay, so I want to make another point, and I'm definitely going to this is so important. I want to get into this very deeply in Vrindavan. It's so important. But I'll make one statement that summarizes it. Okay, I'm going to say something you're not going to understand, but that's a good way to teach because then it grabs your attention. To understand Prabhupada, you have to understand Prabhupada. Do you know what I'm saying? No, okay. To understand one statement of Prabhupada, you have to understand all statements of Prabhupada. Just like, for example, those of you who hear my classes regularly, you kind of understand me, and so if I said something to you like, as far as I'm concerned, all non-devotees should be killed, you would understand that's not typical of what I say. And so one of you new to class is like calling up one of you and saying, what did he mean by that? That's like so heavy. And then you could try to explain it in terms of, well, he must have meant this because he's never said it before. And he always says that we should be compassionate and kind and tolerant with non-devotees, et cetera, et cetera. So you would have to explain what that meant in understanding everything I've said about our relationship with helping people, So then you might say, well, according to Vedic civilization, we all should be killed because Lord Chaitanya tried to kill Jagat and Madhava, but Nityananda Prabhu said, don't kill them because you want to give mercy. If you kill them, you have to kill everybody. It's called Yuga. So you'd probably figure, oh, he meant something like that. It was just most likely in relation to that conversation. And so it was a contextual discussion. And the context didn't go about preaching. It just went about like, well, we all deserve to be killed, whatever. Or, um, you know, the problem in the world, you know what the biggest problem in the world is? Human beings. If all human beings were killed, things would be much better. Did you know that? If they kill all the bees, it's going to be a problem. But if they kill all the humans, things will get better. So that's like, so Mahatma Prabhu is suggesting we kill all human beings. Well, that would solve a lot of problems, of course. That's not what we're suggesting, but it could be understood that way, right? So one has to understand a statement of Prabhupada in context. So in the context of everything he said about something, so that when he says something that just like sounds very difficult, immoral, not politically correct, etc., you don't focus in on that statement. So, well, Prabhupada said we should kill everybody, so down with the bee bag, up with the MK-20, whatever the latest rifle is, MK-26 or whatever. So the Sankirtan party's going out with rifles now instead of books, and just you're going to malls and killing everybody. As is common in America, the great country of America, best country in the world. Don't go shopping because you might get shot. I went last night walking, finishing my rounds, and there's a mall up here. And it's like, oh, maybe it's my day to go back to Godhead. America, welcome to America. Sometimes I go to countries, they go, you're going to Mexico, Mahatma Prabhu. Isn't it dangerous down there? I don't know. It's dangerous in Florida. Go to Miami. You want danger, go to New York. Go to a little town in the middle of nowhere. So, so we have to understand what Prabhupada is saying in the context of everything he's saying. And then we also have to understand in context of who he's speaking to, because he may want to make a certain point. So I may want to make a certain point to Jayadev that doesn't relate to any of you. And I know Jayadev, and I know specific issue he's dealing with. And so I say to Jayadev, you know what I think? I think you should fast 1 day a week, every week. I think that would really be good for you, physically, mentally, emotionally. And it's like, and now everyone else is like, oh my God, we have to fast every day. No, I was just telling him, you just heard me talking to him and you're all thinking, well, that's for me. So sometimes it's true, it is for everybody, but sometimes it's only for a person. So we have to understand when Prabhupada says something, is he saying it just to that person? And a lot of times when reporters were asking Prabhupada questions, he was answering to them, not to the audience. Because normally we would talk to the audience, right? This is a reporter from the New York Times. So you're speaking to the readership of the New York Times. Prabhupada would speak to the person. Like that. So, you want to understand all these things. So it's super, super important for all of us to understand Prabhupada in a 360-degree way. So then when Prabhupada says something like, oh yeah, he wasn't a devotee, you understand, if you're a devotee, you wouldn't fall down, you understand more in depth what Prabhupada means. And then you ask yourself, am I a devotee? Am I actually a devotee? Do I believe in Krishna? Otherwise, it could just make you very confused or depressed or discouraged, right? Um, I think the main place we're going from Friday's class and today's class, and even the other classes, is that it's really important to show Krishna what's in your heart. And then this purport applies perfectly, like Krishna will not allow you to hang yourself. He'll prevent you. You'll put the rope on the tree, you'll put it around your neck, you'll jump off and the rope will break. Krishna inspired you to get a rope that would break, right? Or you hang it on the tree, go to put it around your neck and there's a storm and the branch breaks off. That ever happened to you? You're about to destroy yourself and then there's like an earthquake and you like fall over. Not yet. Don't give up. You got to pray more sincerely in your japa. Krishna, protect me. And then, the earthquake will come. Yeah. You're like in the middle of nowhere in total Maya, about to do the worst thing possible. And you're just about to do it, and then somebody walks by, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Oh my God, Haribol. Something like that. Krishna will do that, like, where are you? Oh, I was just coming to see my grandmother. Haven't seen her in 86 years. She's about to die, and yeah, she lives here. I go, where does she live? Oh, well, such and such address. Oh my God, that's right next door to me, where I'm staying. So that's what Prabhupada's referring to here. So it underscores the importance of faith and sincerity. And if I have faith in Krishna, faith in who you are and your words, and I sincerely want to be a devotee, then when I become foolish, Krishna's not so foolish as me, he'll protect me. Of course, you can't just think, well, now I have nothing to worry about. Krishna will protect me in every situation. It's not exactly like that. But when you show Krishna what's in your heart, at least that's my experience. I feel like there are times in my devotional days where my intelligence went on negative, a 108, and it was like Krishna who would just come and just like, trying to open the door of Maya, and it's just like, it's stuck and I can't get it open. I'm pounding and pounding. Krishna's like, no, I'm not going to let you open it. It's like he protects us. But if that's not the case, he'll let you open the door. You'll figure out how to open it. You'll unscrew it, you'll take it off, and he won't stop you. That's for sure. And that's our philosophy, isn't it? If you want to hang yourself, Krishna's not going to stop you. But if you're sincere and you're praying to Krishna, if I ever try to hang myself, please intervene. Certainly he'll intervene. So you have to show that to Krishna. And that's, I think, the more a more specific understanding of what's being said here. So we'll continue reading. As stated by the Lord in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Ami Vigya e Murkhe Vishaya Kene Iva. So Charanamrita Charanamrita Divya Vishaya Bulabha. Since I am very intelligent, why should I give this fool material prosperity? Instead, I shall induce him to take the nectar of the shelter of my lotus feet and make him forget illusory material enjoyment. I think, Prabhupada often talks about his own life and how he said how he's supposed to be one of the richest men in India, but by the mercy of my guru, it didn't happen because I was meant for something else. So that, that's not us. But I think in a little way, sometimes it could be us. There's a sincere devotee, they're doing a lot of service, and even though they have material inclinations, Krishna protects them because they're sincere and they have important service and they're capable of doing that service. And so I show my mercy when our intelligence shuts off, Krishna shows his mercy by giving us his intelligence, so to speak, Paramatma intelligence, or arranging material nature in a way to help us. And so whenever that happens to you, you can just acknowledge, thank you, Krishna. Continue to read. It's a long purport. If one sincerely prays to God for material possessions in exchange for devotional service, the Lord, who is not foolish, like such an unintelligent devotee, shows him special favor by taking away whatever material possessions he has and gradually giving him the intelligence to be satisfied only by rendering service to his lotus feet. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments in this regard that if a foolish child requests his mother to give him poison, the mother, being intelligent, will certainly not give him poison, even though he requests it. A materialist does not know that to accept material possessions means to accept poison or the repetition of birth and death. An intelligent person, a brahmana, aspires for liberation from material bondage. That is the real self-interest of a human being. So that's Krishna's mercy. And that's why Srila Prabhupada says that Krishna consciousness is easy when Krishna helps you. And Krishna consciousness is obviously difficult if Krishna doesn't help you. Well, I wouldn't say difficult, I would say impossible. Yeah. And so this is such a important statement, an interesting statement. You know, you want to make Krishna conscious easy, how do you do it? Well, you just get Krishna to help you. Okay, well, how do you do that? Well, be sincere. Show him that you want that help. Show him that this is your goal. Show him that going back to Godhead is what you want. And if you show him it's not what you want, then just be aware that he's going to reciprocate with the same desire that you have, which is a very dangerous situation, isn't it? I mean, we want to get out of Maya. What if Krishna helps you stay in Maya? And then how are you going to get out? Because he's the only one who can help you get out. And if he helps you stay in Maya, well, you're in trouble. Because you can't fight with Maya, or to speak of fight with Krishna. If he's going to help you stay in Maya, if that's what you want, then how can you get out of it? How can you fight it? And then, you know, like you have these statements in the Bhagavatam about the power of Maya, specifically in the form of sexual attraction, and how the Bhagavatam says that nobody can conquer it. Nobody can get over it. It's impossible. Like, oh. So now we know why. Because if we don't really want to get over it, and Krishna says, okay, you don't want to get over it, so certainly I'm not going to help you get over it if you don't want it. I'm going to help you stay in it if that's what you want. And so the men see these beautiful women, and now they're trying to be devotees, they're trying to be brahmacharis, and they're thinking, well, this is difficult. If the women weren't so beautiful, then it would be easier or easy. If that, you know, women are like, if they were as wide as they were tall, then the men, then, oh, like, I wouldn't want to get married one of those, you know, basketballs, you know, that would be easier, you know, like a bomb. The women look like snowmen, you know, big, like that. Okay, that would be easier. Krishna, why didn't you create them like snowmen? It's not fair because I want to be renounced and controlled, and they're so attractive. So the answer is that when we come into the material world, we come because we want to imitate Krishna. And Krishna has a very beautiful girlfriend. You've probably heard about her and seen her, right? Her name's Radharani. Krishna has a very beautiful girlfriend. So what are we trying to do? Well, we're trying to play Krishna. We need a girlfriend or a boyfriend. So Krishna is saying to you, well, you want to imitate me. You want an ugly girlfriend or a beautiful girlfriend? You say, of course I want a beautiful girlfriend. Well, gentlemen, that's the answer to your question. Why are they so beautiful? Because you asked for it. That's why. And then you're thinking, oh, I was an idiot to ask for it. Well, you were. I mean, we all were, not just the men, the women. Women were men also asking for it. And so if I ask for it, now I have to ask Krishna, please allow me, just as I was attracted to beautiful women, allow me to become attracted to you in the same way. You know that prayer. As young boys are attracted to young girls, yeah. Let me become attracted to you in the same way. And Krishna will say, okay, if that's what you want, I can do that. Yeah, we can work on that one. Yeah, let's try it. You know, I will reveal my beauty to you. You go see me in the temple and see how beautiful I am. How beautiful the Bhagavatam is, the holy name is, the association is, the pakoras are, everything. I will reveal it to you if that's what you want. So it's good for us when we are doing well in bhakti to recognize, oh, that's because I must have some intention to become more Krishna conscious, some sincerity in Krishna's reciprocating, and vice versa. When I'm not doing well, it must be because I'm inclined more towards material things than spiritual things, and Krishna is reciprocating. And so it's just, it's not like, why is this happening? I don't understand. No, it's clearly we can understand. Of course, modes of nature shift, but in any long range, consistent, good sphere of Krishna consciousness, weeks and weeks, months and months, you're doing the right thing. And when it's difficult, you're doing the wrong thing. You ever get angry at devotees? These devotees, these ISKCON devotees, they're all fanatics. You ever go through that one? They're all crazy. There's like, these devotees, they're all like this and that. Yeah. What happens to your spiritual life after you say that? Generally not good things, isn't it? And so, there's always cause and effect. You can always go back to the cause to understand, what am I dealing with? Where have I gone wrong? Just backstep, enough, and you can start to see cause and effect relationships, right? Both in a good way and a bad way. Why am I doing so well? Well, my rounds have been really good the last week. Yeah, I'm feeling very inspired. Every day I read for an hour or two. And I've been getting up early. And yeah, so naturally you'll feel good. I mean, if you got up at 1:30 every day and chanted 25 rounds, which you would finish, let's say, at 3:30 or so, or 3, no, 4 or 4:30. And then from 4:30 to 6:30, you read, studied, whatever it is you wanted to study. You'd probably be feeling pretty inspired, right? Don't you think? Which is kind of what I've been doing the last week. So I'm just speaking from experience here. Um, um, and yeah, this works. It's a good time to chant early in the morning. It's a really good time to chant. This morning I couldn't chant. This morning I got up about 3, but I left my beads in the other room and I would wake my sister up. So I studied. I'll have to chant later. But chanting early in the morning like that is really special. And so if we're feeling Krishna conscious, it's like, yeah, there's usually a reason, generally. I mean, sometimes you get special mercy, but there's usually a reason, and vice versa. So that's really important to recognize. So it's time for questions. Let's see what we have here, or comments. Oh, what would you do on Papa Mukti Day? Read all Prabhupada's books, sing, chant, yeah. Nobody's willing to admit what they'd actually do, right? That's the politically correct answer. That's the answer you get an A on your test, right? Often if you heard a lot of my lectures, sometimes I'll ask a question or I'll make a statement and I'll say, this is the answer you put on your test, but the real answer is this. And then I go ahead and to explain why the politically correct answer, or what seems academically correct, or, well, you're just quoting Shastra, may lack context and depth and practicality and so on. And so therefore, if we discuss it deeper, we might find the answer is a little different than what you might think. So the politically correct answer is, yeah, so Anna is the only honest one here. Everyone else is a pretender. Yeah. No. So I think, okay, I can re-ask the question now. Okay. Well, I can re-ask an easier way. Well, let's say on Papa Mukti, you can do anything you want that day. You won't get a sinful reaction. Then you're saying, well, that day I would just, do what I normally do. Okay. Then I'll ask this question, but what would you think about doing? Because you know the whole day, 24 hours, you can do whatever you want. So it's like temptation. So that's the question. If you think I wouldn't do anything, maybe it's true, hopefully, but what would you be tempted to think, at least think about on that day? I could do this. Yeah. Maybe Anna wouldn't eat the eggs, but she'd think, well, I could have eggs today. I missed them. And she'd just make scrambled tofu and she'd be okay. Uh, uh, so that's something to think about on that day. What would I like to do? And if you honestly say nothing, then I say perfect. That's the answer we really want. From the heart, not the politically correct academic. We want from the heart, we want that answer. That actually I would just serve Krishna. That's what we want. And that answer is showing Krishna, oh, this is what I want. And Krishna's like, okay, let me protect you. All right. So we have some questions here. And this Jayadev's asking an important question. And it's kind of like the other side of the issue. Often when I give class, I'm giving class one side of the issue. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, uh-oh, somebody's going to think, well, here's the problem. In my mind, I see 360 degrees, but I may only be speaking 180. And I'm hoping that you understand me enough that you know that 180 is also there. I just haven't spoken about it. And sometimes you need to speak 180 because everybody's so much on the other side. You got to push them over a bit. So you exaggerate one side. But in my mind, I'm not denying the other side. I'm just, so anyway. So the question that Jayadev's asking can help us balance. Is there a value of honesty, like discussing our material desires honestly with Krishna? Yeah, you'll find that in Nectar Devotion. I think the section is called Submissiveness. I've got 23 minutes to finish this. Normally in the morning, I drink it all in like 2 minutes, but it's kind of cold here and the water's not warm, so I'm taking it slow. I guess you can hear me drink because of the microphone, right? No? What if Krishna didn't create water? What will we do? Drink orange juice all day? And they say there's no God and he creates water. That's enough to get me to believe in God, that there's water. What about you? Water, sun, and air. That's enough. Okay, so Jaydev says, is there a value of honesty, like discussing our material desires honestly with Krishna? So if you read that section, then you'll find a devotee comes, I guess maybe in front of Krishna or in front of the deity, maybe it's in front of the deity. And he said, when I come in front of you and admit all my sinful activities, I feel embarrassed. It's very interesting. You know why it's interesting? Because it's confession, because the devotee's confessing. This is what's in my heart. This is what I've done. And I'm embarrassed to come in front of you. So, but I think when you're praying, say, Krishna, please protect me from this and that, that's honest, right? I have this desire, give me the intelligence how to use it. Because there's this little area, you don't want to go, I'm defining an area here. You don't want to go above it and you don't want to go below it. So what's in this area? It's a material desire that I cannot give up. Or I would just call it a desire that I wish I didn't have. Right? We don't want to judge it other than I wish I didn't have it, right? And I understand if I don't control this desire or employ this desire in Christian service, it's going to be problematic for me. So here's this area in which I can engage this desire if it doesn't go above this or it doesn't go below this, right? So Grihastha life is kind of like that. It's like sex within it's contained, right? It's not brahmachari life and it's not unrestricted. It's like contained. So I have this desire, okay, contain it, ideally only for procreation. So I contain it, but like the worst thing for anyone, devotee or not, is sex outside of marriage because it's irresponsible. It's bad for everybody. The woman's unprotected. There's a lot of abortion or unwanted children, which is a huge problem in the world. If you actually look at the world today and say, well, how could we solve the problems of the world? Say, well, we say everyone becomes a devotee. And you say, yeah, but so many devotees are crazy and this and that. You know, how's that going to change anything? You ever think like that? Wonder, I don't know if it'd be better if everyone were a devotee. Maybe, maybe it'd be worse. We'd be arguing, there'd be more arguments on the internet, Big New York Times headlines, since the world became Krishna conscious, fighting on the internet has increased 3,000 times, So, um, if everyone is a devotee and everyone is committed to marriage and everyone is committed to sex within marriage and everyone raises their children in a Krishna conscious environment, this is if, and we have good schools, that would completely eliminate Varna Sankara, unwanted population of children who are untrained. It would change the whole world. That's what would change the world. But nowadays, divorced families, it's like kids are not trained properly spiritually. Many of them are not wanted. Many of them are aborted. And so when you look at the world, like all these killings, shootings in America, it's like, what is this? It's like it's children, as John Lennon said, born over a bottle of whatever it was, vodka on a Saturday night. He was saying most kids are conceived when the parents are drunk at a party. Wow, Hare Krishna. So I don't know if that's true for all of them, but certainly for some, or in a similar way. So anyway, that's a side point. But you have a desire, and then you say, okay, Krishna, I have this desire. Give me the intelligence how to use it in a way that I won't go below, where I repress it to the point where I shoot up like a rocket to fulfill it because I'm so hungry, right? Which is, that book I want to write, Beware of Celibates? Because the celibates are down here and they're like, "Rah," trying to control it. And then, you know, it's like, it's like on Janmashtami at midnight, and they tap you, you're it's like, it's why the RT's over, from the time RT starts, all you're thinking about is, prasadam. And then it's finally over, you pay obeisances, and the temple commander taps you on the shoulder. Can you help serve prasadam? And you're like, oh my God, that's another hour before I'm going to eat. Um, so when, I can't restrain myself anymore, I have to eat now. So yes, Krishna, I have this desire. I wish I didn't have it. I think we all have desires we wish we didn't have. We all have characteristics we wish we didn't have. Krishna, what can I do? Please help me. How can I engage this desire? How can I purify this desire? Something like that. Yeah, those discussions are part of our confession. And so the good news is confession is part of Vaishnavism. That's right there in that section on submissiveness. So, when you see the deities, you can confess. Whatever you want to confess. And hopefully you'll come to a point in your Krishna consciousness where there's nothing to confess because there's no impurity anymore. I have to confess I'm envious of this devotee for this reason. Please help me with this. It's, you ever get triggered just by watching a YouTube video? Like it makes you feel uncomfortable, or seeing someone, it makes you feel uncomfortable. It's a reality. We're conditioned souls. It's our reality. I often I often make this point that sometimes we don't like somebody solely for the reason that they have qualities that we want. They have successes that we want. They're physically the way we want to be. And we get triggered by that because it makes us feel unsuccessful or unattractive or unintelligent. And you already feel bad about yourself in one of those ways. And when you see that person, it reminds you you're not successful, or you're not beautiful, or you're not wealthy, or you're not intelligent. At least that's the way you think about yourself. And so, Krishna, I confess that I get triggered because I'm envious. Okay, that's the way to work on it. Acknowledge it. Krishna, help me. What do I do? And we all know that when you present yourself to Krishna that way, he helps you. He gives you intelligence. You ever have that, like that kind of experience? Like, what do I do? And then 3 days later, the sky's open, the light comes in, the lightning bolt hits you, and there you get your little 10 commandments, and in your heart, and Krishna says, do this, don't do that, and you give a whole class on it because you're trying to realize how to deal with it. And all the devotees say, wow, it was a great class. I have the same problem. Thank you. And then you go on YouTube and someone else is giving a class and they're saying the same thing you said. You're like, oh my God, he stole my lines. No, it's the same super soul giving his lines to somebody else. That's all. Have you ever noticed that? Somebody having the same realization as you, same super soul. Yes? Oh, you go in the store and you go, oh, I had the same idea for that. You ever have that one? Of course, I have ideas for like everything. I'm an idea person. So, every idea I have, I always tell my wife, I got this idea. Say next year someone's going to do it. And when next year we like go online and go, look, I told you, they did it. It's the same super soul. So if you have a good idea and it's not on the market yet, you better jump on it because the same super soul is giving somebody else that idea. And whoever gets it out first, is the one who wins. Does that answer your question, Jai Dave? I guess the answer is yes. There's Henrik says, how can I understand that Krishna has something great in store for me if I'm not willing to accept when it's even always in my face, but I'm not accepting his gift, so to speak? Well, he has something great in store potentially. Doesn't mean you're going to take it. Here's the deal, Henrik. If you invest 500 of whatever your money is in Norway or wherever you are, where are you? I forgot already. Yeah. Whatever your money is, Finland. No, Iceland. Iceland. Greenland, Iceland, Finland, Norway. I'm American. I forget these things. Yeah. So you invest your money, right? I go, this is the deal of a lifetime. This is going to be bigger than Microsoft. And you had invested in Microsoft in 1970. You'd have like invested $1,000. You'd have like 10 million or 100 million or whatever. This is the next big deal. And Henrik's like, where am I going to get $500? Where am I getting 1,000? Just get a job, just make it and save every cent. If you invest within this year, you'll be like rich. Yeah, it's too much trouble. I don't really want to work that hard. So the answer to your question is, Krishna only had something great in store for you potentially, but you didn't take advantage of it, so nothing great's happening, right? So it's his mercy that he offers potential greatness, and it's our foolishness we don't take it. Correct? Correct. Yeah. It's Iceland, right? Yes? No? Chaitanya, okay. Chaitanya Dasi is giving her description of Shiva, Papa Mukti Day. And all of you are thinking, I hope that's not actually true. There isn't a place, yeah. I would be very lazy, watch all the movies I loved before KC, and maybe I would say a couple of harsh things to a couple of things. I never thought of that. Oh. But devotees won't know you said it, right? 'Cause is there any time limit for good japas? Normally I take around 3 hours to chant 16 rounds, and I find it difficult to get 3 hours for chanting. Well, I don't want to tell you to drink coffee, but if you did, you get them done in an hour and a half. So maybe a little pranayama. At least the devotees who say it takes me a long time to chant. I'm like, I wish we could drink coffee. I think it would solve that problem. But I think it would be hard to control the mind on coffee because the mind would race more, right? Hmm. So yeah, 3 hours is a little long. Indrajit, just eat a chili before you chant. That might work for you. Do some pranayama and stand up a little bit, walk around, focus. Because you want to get to the point of chant. If you want to be initiated, if you want to go back to God in this lifetime, you want to chant 16 rounds. So you have to figure out how to do it. And even if you chant slowly by my standard, it would take 2.5 hours. That's like, sometimes like takes me like 2.5 hours, 2 hours, 20 minutes. I'm like, that's like something. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, like that speed. So now into Jit, I'll make you feel bad and tell you that Prabhupada, according to me, chanted his rounds about in 5 minutes each round. So if you do the math, that's an hour and a half, right? 90 minutes. 90 minutes was an hour and a half when I was in math class in 1963. So I guess it still is, right? Nobody's changed it. They don't have a new digital time like they have digital money or something. Yeah. So practice. Jayadev says, I'm praying to Krishna to not grant me a cheat day like that. Now, okay, here's a really good point. Here's a good point. Oh, I have a lot of comments. Here's a good point. I forgot the good point. I'm honestly praying to Krishna to not grant me a cheat day like that. Of course, you could also pray, if there is that day, grant me the intelligence to not do anything stupid. Now, here's my point. In our Shastra, when there's any discussion of a devotee doing something sinful, and that devotee being forgiven or that sin being cleared, it's always because it was accidental. So on Papa Mukti, it's not accidental, it's premeditated. I can't wait. It comes once a year, I'm planning it in my calendar. I have my to-do list on that day, That's not an accidental fall down. So accidental fall downs are always forgiven because they're accidental. You're in some situation and, something happened and it wasn't at all planned. And it's just like, due to your human weakness, you caved in, and probably all of us would have caved in that situation. So that's forgiven. But Papa Mukti, it's not accidental. So Gaurapriya has a question. I think it's Gaurapriya, right? I aspire being a devotee, praying always to Krishna to guide me to surrender, and he takes all off of my life to serve him. Even if it's hard to detach, accept it all, and know that is the only path. Why desire pop-ups? Papa, not pop-ups, Papa. Papa means sin. If he knows better, what is better, like a father says, obey that knowledge. My rebel mind always pops up. I am praying to engage in that process. now instead of desiring material life. Trying to balance it. Yeah. The prayer is, Krishna, if there ever is a Mukti Papa day, Mukti Papa Aja, Aja is day, at least in Hindi, then Mukti Papa, if there ever is such a day, please give me the intelligence. Which is the same thing as saying, Gaurapriya, if there ever is Maya in front of my face, please give me intelligence to deal with it. Indrajit says, yeah, it always happens to me when I become envious of a person in work who's better than me, and I think that he is just showing up. Gives me a necessary idea, but then somehow Krishna shows me that he is correct and I should have accepted the idea. Oh, yeah. Oh, Henriksen Govardhan. So we're in rupees, yeah. And from Iceland, ice coins. What are your coins made out of in Iceland? Ice? But what happens if they melt? You lose all your money. Oh, that's a problem. Govardhan, wow. Ventura says, there are many non-devotees teaching this manifest principle. Joe Dispenza discusses how most people are creating their present and future life by what is their emotional states from past experiences that are creating the present climate of these feelings and thoughts. I just heard this, they have these talks going on now called 16 Days of Activism. I don't know if you've seen any, and different devotees who are expert in the field are coming up. And one of the most expert is a devotee named Chitti Shakti from England. And she said something interesting. She said, you bring your home into the temple when you join, meaning you bring everything you learned at home, the good and the bad, you bring that with you. So yes, and so if you bring something with you that's good, it helps you, obviously. If you bring something with you that's bad, then the bad keeps repeating and you want to get rid of the bad. So it's like, it's like having a suitcase full of stuff. You want to get rid of what you don't need, because the stuff you don't need, which is bad, poisonous, is dangerous. So take it out of the suitcase. So once you take it out of the suitcase, it doesn't come up in the future, but most of us leave it in the suitcase and then it comes up. And then we blame other people, of course, for all the mistakes we make, which is another thing that came from home. Okay. Hmm. The illusion of transcendence can be their thinking, I have transcended these emotions and past traumas, but they're still running in the background where we're still not joyful and able to move forward in a clean way. What are your thoughts? Well, I can give you another shocking statement by Prabhupada. If you're not happy, you're not a devotee. Wow. Go to bed crying tonight with that one, huh? If you're not happy, you're not a devotee. Well, what did Prabhupada mean? Well, in the context of what you're saying, Matura, we could say Prabhupada meant, yeah, if you allow all this past conditioning to rule your life, then you won't be happy and you can't then really enter into bhakti. Then the last question, how to deal with painful sickness in case they are challenged with mayas with their own body. Um, Extreme tolerance, and I think acceptance is also important, because when you're sick, obviously you can't do what you did when you were healthy. And so making that transition of just accepting it. I used to do this amount of service, and now that I'm sick, I'm doing this or maybe nothing. And my only service is just to chant. It's an acceptance, and just chant in here, or my service is to heal. And that can be difficult. But that's what we have to, that becomes our service then. Like women who have young children, they can't always chant 16 focused rounds, if even 16. And so it's hard for them, especially if they were really relishing japa, and japa is important, and they're not getting enough rest, and they're having to watch their kids, so they're very distracted. And the only way to deal with that is the acceptance. So that's your service now, and so this is going to be the byproduct of that service, that your japa will suffer for however long until your kids start sleeping through the night. And So these are, it's difficult to accept it, but you have to, right? What else can you do? And, you can apply that to so many things in your life, which, are compromises of what you may want to do, but it's just what you have to do. Okay, we have finished. We are finished, but not finished. There's always Wednesday. Gaurapriya, I have news for you, that when you get my age, you might be thinking of your body the whole time you're chanting japa, because there's not a part in your body that doesn't like hurt when you move this way, that part, and this part. And if you get around old people, they usually just talk about their body, because it's just one thing or another. It's like an old car breaking down. So that'll be your challenge when you're older, to not think about your body so much. That'll be all of us, yeah, to some degree, yeah. Okay, take it away, Gauramani, it's all yours.
Hare Krishna Gurudev, please accept my humble obeisances. Jai Prabhupada.
Haribol.
Okay, should we do a meditation this morning?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just needing to check in